Do you think the broadcast revenue model is broken? And if so, should it be the cable revenue model, or is that under stress as well?
The cable revenue model isn't, because it's been based on two things. It's been based on ad revenue and subscription revenue from cable system owners. There may be some stress with individual networks because of the fees that they charge, which sometimes go up and up and up. You see it with ESPN or with CNN or with the Weather Channel, and less so with other networks because the kind of programming they do. Sports programming, for example, costs, and the costs go up and up and up because of rights fees from the major leagues, from the Olympics, and so on. It may be difficult for broadcast to adopt that model, although there is now some talk that ultimately NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox will become cable networks. In other words, they will do a 24-hour schedule, and you will only be able to get on your cable or satellite system. The problem is what happens to the broadcast stations. If they go that route, you basically have television stations becoming independent all over the place. And where does the programming come from? How do they work? What's really put the stress on the broadcast industry, aside from the lower ratings, has been the ad market falling off a cliff. Nobody, when this recession happened last year, particularly hit home last fall, expected that so many industries impacted by the recession, the auto industry, the entertainment industry, the financial industry, would all pull their ads off local television. These are the financial underpinnings of local television. Auto dealerships, for some stations around the country, make up as many as 30 to 40% of a local station's annual ad revenue. So when GM and Ford and Chrysler, all, because of what the woes they're going through, basically pulled the rug out, it took what many forecasters thought was going to be an 8% decline in local ad revenue this year to a double digit, on the order of 15 to 25%. And we're seeing the results of that now with local stations around the country cutting back on newscasts. Channel 9 here in New York has cut their weekend newscasts. WMAQ, the NBC station in Chicago, cut back their Sunday newscast. Fox station in Jackson, Mississippi, this week cut out the weekend newscast, and we may see more of that. If this local ad scene does not reverse itself, we may see more stations like WYOU, the CBS station, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, cut all of their local news programming, and that would be a catastrophe.
In some respects, though, aren't we in the perfect storm? We have technology that's eroding. Newspapers are really struggling and print is struggling. Plus, we have the bad economy. Part of my question is, do you see the Great Recession as a generational trend or something that we can rebound from within the generation?
It depends on how you define generational. If you define generational as audience, where we have the rise of this new population of millennials, we go from the baby boomers to the millennials, you could somewhat say that. Although everybody from any generation buys popcorn, everybody buys packaged good food, everybody buys cars and so forth. I think it's more a recession kind of deal. I think it's that we have one of the most unique recessions we've ever had that's impacted a lot of industries at the same time because there were a lot of factors involved, everything from natural forces to the subprime rates to the housing market to what the banks were going through to the cutoff of credit. And that's been a perfect storm. I think we can certainly get out of it. The question is, how much will we get out of it? Will the recovery be as sustainable over a multi-year period as it's been before, like 1980-81, or after the stock market crash in 87, or after the internet bubble burst in 2000-2001? That remains to be seen. But I've heard from people thinking that it will not be the same again because we have a lower broadcast rating environment than before. Back again, 1980, ABC, CBS, NBC on the top of the world. Now they are struggling to get a third of the available viewing audience. TV viewership is up, but a lot of that is because of cable and satellite and high-def viewing and DVRs and so on. So it's not the same scene. Plus you have a generation that's growing up on multitasking, where they will watch the personal computer and they'll watch the television set, or they'll do the iPhone or the iPod at the same time. So it's very difficult to say. But right now, I think broadcast network television is certainly on a pinnacle. It could be a revival, depending on what happens in terms of programming. But at the same time, it could also be the beginning of the end for broadcast as we know it.
We spoke a bit about the cable model and the fact that cable networks are being paid for their programming in fees, subscriber fees. But actually, this model is under stress. And in a previous interview, I had mentioned that Fox News actually changed the model a bit when they started to pay MSOs to carry their networks. What do you think about the longevity of the current cable model, whether that might change.
I think you will see some individual networks test the patience of cable owners and satellite owners. And we see that already with Versus, which DirecTV has blacked out. We may see more of this, particularly as rights fees for sports go up. There's no question that ESPN, maybe Time Warner, maybe other companies will challenge NBC to get the Olympics. And the rights may go down or up depending on what happens. We just, of course, had the Rio de Janeiro games for 2016 announced. There's concern about whether rights fees may go down. That may be a factor, whether rights fees for sports events go down because of declining audiences or because people can't afford it, because of possibilities with the model. I think there's going to have to become a multiple revenue stream way, not a dual revenue stream way, and there are ways to do it. I think what these networks may have to do is promise the operators, okay, in exchange for the higher fee, we will share more of our revenue off home video, DVD, video on demand, international sales with you. So I think that might be the way out, is to have a cycle stream where the operators may pay more, and in exchange for that, they get back more than they pay in cuts of new markets. DVD, interactive, home video, stores, things like that. That may be the way out. But until then, we're going to get some tests. And again, it depends on individual networks. A network like ESPN, which has to deal with huge sports fees because of live programming and the rights fees for them, may be more subject to an issue with operators than a weather channel, where the fees are pretty much level. And I don't think you'll find cable operators cutting off the weather channel because people know that it is a must service. For something like TNT or Hallmark Channel or USA, which is doing more original programming, it may be mixed. On the one hand, the cable operators can sell more advertising at a higher rate because they're getting better ratings. When a show like with USA, Royal Pains or Burn Notice gets 6-7 million viewers a week, that leads to more, those local ad spots are more valuable. So the cable operator can sell them at a higher price. So it's going to be a mixed bag. But there better be a lot of communication between both the television networks and the cable operators. And if NBC decides we're going to put our broadcast network on cable, or we're going to put, or CBS, that may be a test. That may be a test as to whether operators will accept the higher fee.